crime king back.
Community is healing. Community is how we carry on together.
It was a crime that rocked a small college town and captured the attention of the world.
This horrible crime has affected all of us.
4 University of Idaho students murdered in a house near campus.
But these girls were absolutely beautiful. They've been friends since 6th grade. It's a shame, and it hurts.
Some feared the murders of Maddie Mogan, Kaylee Gonsalves, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle would never be solved. Who would want to hurt these 4 students sleeping in their house? The answer, police would later say, was this man.
This is State of Idaho versus Brian C. Koberger.
Brian Koberger, a PhD.
What's up, guys? True Crime King back. Hope you all are doing well today. So I figured, since everybody seems to be divided on this case, we'll refresh all of our memories, and we'll take a look back at all the actual evidence in this case, okay? And we'll just take a look for the common sense people out there. Okay, we'll see if there's any evidence for any of these other theories. If there is any evidence at all of any kind of foul play or the police doing something wrong, right? Don't you think it would be being reported, right? Somewhere, right? If there was tunnels going to behind the refrigerator at 1122 King Road, don't you guys think that it would be on every news station? The biggest murder case in years, and then there's possibly, even if there was just a possibility there was any tunnels, it would be front page news, right? But it seems like all you guys are believing this, and it's just some speculation from a couple clown YouTubers, right? So let's see what the actual evidence is, and I'll react as we go along. And I'm completely open-minded. If there is any evidence that supports anything other than Brian Koberger being the murderer, then of course I would be open to it. If there is any evidence at all of any tunnels leading to behind the refrigerator, I'd be all over it. But the thing is, there is no evidence of that, okay? And I'm sorry, but I do have a brain, and I do think for myself, okay? And I'm not just gonna say, hey guys, there's tunnels, when we don't have any evidence of that, and there is no tunnels, okay? So here we go.
Student in criminology who lived 10 miles away. But why? That's just one of so many questions that remain more than 1 year later as we remember the 4 Idaho students taken too soon.
I mean, this is what it's all about. Remembering these 4 innocent people, okay? And getting the right heinous monster, okay? That took their lives while they were in their beds at their most vulnerable point in the whole day, okay? When you're laying and sleeping in your bed, you know, it's just horrible, okay? And Brian Koberger has been arrested, charged, and there's evidence to support he murdered in cold blood, stabbed to death in under 10 minutes these 4 people, okay? And people say, there's no way somebody could stab 4 people in under 10 minutes. Well, answer this question then. How did it happen in under 10 minutes? Because it did happen in under 10 minutes. Those are the facts of the case. So, obviously, somebody did it in under 10 minutes. And it was Brian Koberger, okay?
I'm Anjanette Levy. Thank you for joining us as we remember the 4 University of Idaho students senselessly murdered in Moscow, Idaho, more than a year ago.
Senseless.
It's been 1 year since police made an arrest in the case. Maddie Mogen, Kaylee Gonsalves, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle had their entire lives ahead of them. But on November 13th, 2022, their lives were taken, police say, by this man, Brian Koberger, a criminology PhD student who lived 10 miles away across the Washington state line in Pullman. As we look back a year later, we want to remember the 4 victims by telling you who they were, what we know about the investigation, the evidence, and what lies ahead.
No matter where you find yourself tonight, the Vandal family is here. And on this day, across all of Idaho, we are all Vandals.
Students, fellow classmates of Maddie Mogen, Kaylee Gonsalves, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle came together on a lawn at the school in Moscow this past November 13th to remember their friends 1 year later.
Maddie was a bright person. She had a bright smile. She had a bright future. Maddie was bright. She was bright in every way that a person could be.
Yeah, I mean, beautiful girl, you know, it's just horrible.
Maddie was the kind of person that made sure everyone felt welcomed. And
I mean, all of them they're all beautiful women, bright futures, just taken away for nothing.
Cared for. It was nearly impossible to not be smiling when you were around her. I am reminded every day to live like Kaylee would. Be more spontaneous, stop and take pictures, be loud, laugh loud, and love hard. May we all work hard to be more like Kaylee.
The students also want to try to start the difficult process of healing as they grieve the loss of their friends.
A beautiful aura followed her everywhere she went. There was always a smile on her face. She was a very contagious person. Xana was one of those people that you could not possibly be sad around. She made friends feel unapologetic for being themselves.
He so effortlessly put anyone and everyone around him in a good mood. These traits are something I strive to obtain every single day.
A little more than a year ago, on November 12, 2022, everything seemed normal in Moscow, Idaho. The leaves were changing colors. It was nearly a perfect warm fall day. Students Maddie Mogen, Kaylee Gonsalves, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin posed for a photo with 2 roommates before the big football game.
Back to the formation. Vandals return to the Big Sky. And that's his first rushing touchdown of the season.
Later that night, Xana and Ethan went to a party at his fraternity, Sigma Chi, just a few blocks from the home where she lived with Maddie, Kaylee, and 2 other young female students.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
right. We're going back to the famous grub truck video. Remember when, before Koberger was caught, we were all trying to, see who was acting suspicious, what they were saying, I remember I was.
I would like to,
That night, a Twitch video from the grub truck recorded Kaylee and Maddie ordering food around 1:30 a.m. after hanging out at the Corner Club bar.
Cool, thank you.
Maddie and Kaylee hung out for a few minutes, doing what college kids do, looking at...
There's Hoodie Guy, right? Which we now know is Jack. So, we were all speculating and thinking he might have done it, right?
At Kaylee's phone, at one point taking a selfie. Minutes later, the lifelong friends walked away, a guy in a white hoodie trailing behind. Kaylee and Maddie took a rideshare home. The driver told me he had driven Kaylee, Maddie, and Xana home many times. He said they were all nice, happy, friendly girls. That morning, he dropped off Kaylee and Maddie just before 2 a.m. Police would later say Xana received a food delivery at 4 a.m.
Oh, okay. I just want to go back 1 sec. Okay, you see right here, guys? Okay, the ladder, same position it's always been in. That ladder never moved. It was there, way before the murders. And it was in the same exact position way after, okay? And answer this, right? Because I've heard some people try and say that Koberger or whoever used that ladder and then would have went in through the third floor. Make it make sense. Okay, you got a sliding door on the second story, and so you're telling me somebody's going to get the ladder, and then try and climb up on that deck. They would still encounter a sliding door. You know what I mean? Why would they make it harder on themselves when they could just... You have to go in through a slider either way, right? So why would you choose to try and monkey your way up to the third floor when you can just break in through the slider on the ground level? Make it make sense, people, okay?
Hours later, 2 roommates awoke. Then came a call to 911, and the home on King Road that had been the scene of so many parties became a crime scene.
We know that the autopsies confirmed the identity of the 4 victims, determined the cause and manner of death as homicide by stabbing, and determined that it was likely all 4 victims who were asleep during the attack.
Okay, so you just heard it, okay? It was likely that they were asleep, and so then they must have been woken up by the murderer, okay? They're totally defenseless, okay? And there's a very good possibility that whoever he attacked first, which was either Kaylee or Maddie, right, didn't have any time to react at first because, he would have snuck up on the first person, okay? How long does that take, right? A sleeping person, how long does it take to stab somebody? Not long, seconds, okay? So you people that are saying there's no way it couldn't have been done. Again, it was committed in under 10 minutes. It's a fact, okay? It was. And it did happen. And Brian Kohberger most likely committed the crime. And, you know, you guys are saying, oh, there's just some DNA, a little bit of DNA. What does it matter if there's just a little bit, or if there's if it's everywhere? It doesn't matter. His DNA's there, on the sheath, under Madison's dead body. Give me a break, you know?
Some of the victims had defensive wounds, and each victim was stabbed multiple times. There was no sign of sexual assault.
Based on details at the scene, we believe this was an isolated, targeted attack on our victims.
The brutality of this crime in this small college town of 25,000 was unbelievable.
It was so scary. We were just like, who could have done this?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a lot of fear. It was so sad. And then you saw the photos of those beautiful, young people over and over and over again.
Cindy Hollenbeck lives in Pullman, Washington nearby and has 2 college-age children.
This is a place where we don't lock our doors, and I started locking, checking every single night. I was in so much fear.
People around the state of Idaho started following the story, and then around the world.
It was so senseless. These young adults were in the prime of their lives, and that last photo that has made kind of rounds of all of them smiling and standing outside really, I think, sticks in people's minds as well, and we're all still grieving the loss.
But who would stab these 4 students, and why? Stabbing is such a personal crime, and
you have to be so close to do it.
Dr. Angela Arnold is a psychiatrist who has followed the case. She tried to figure out what could motivate someone to attack Maddie, Kaylee, Ethan, and Xana in their home in the middle of the night, and stabbing all 4 in possibly a short amount of time.
I also have to wonder, when someone does something like this, and it's so brutal, how much of a sexual undertone it has to it, and what kind of sexual pleasure he got from performing this.
As the days and weeks passed, it seemed as if police had little to go on. It would be a daunting task, trying to figure out who killed the 4 students. The house where the murders happened was on Greek Row, just off campus.
Not a lot of cars, a ton of foot traffic. A lot of students like to live over here and then just walk to classes.
Max Kime lived directly across the street from the house on King Road and spoke to police several times. The officers asked Kime about noise coming from the house.
Lots of partying going on in Moscow, Idaho. So if there was a lot of yelling and screaming, I'm sure I slept right through it, because there always is. And that was the best I could tell any officers.
Days after the murders, family and friends of Kaylee, Maddie, Ethan, and Xana gathered to pray and to remember them.
Maddie Mae, she was the first grandkid of any of her grandparents. She was Karen and my only child that we ever had.
Maddie Mogen's father, Ben, said she was a hard worker who made the dean's list every semester. Her family said she loved anything pink and sparkly, and she was loved.
And she was just such such a great kid, such a perfect little baby, and so just smart and funny and beautiful.
Maddie was a member of the Pi Beta Phi sorority, where she had many friends who loved her.
Yeah, and it seems like a lot of people have kind of forgotten the actual victims. So that's why I wanted to react to this video too, just so we could remember these 4 innocent people.
She was easily the best person that I knew. She loved everyone around her more than life. She loved her mom. She always told me, "Don't you think my mom's so cute and so pretty?"
Kaylee's parents also took the stage to talk about her and Maddie.
I want everyone to know these girls were absolutely beautiful. They've been friends since 6th grade. So then they went to high schools together. Then they started looking at colleges. They came here together. They eventually get into the same apartment together. And in the end, they died together in the same room.
Can't get much closer than that, right?
In the same bed.
Ethan Chapin was a triplet. His siblings, Maisie and Hunter, attended the University of Idaho with him. His mother, Stacy, talking about the memories the family shared.
We surfed and spent countless hours in our boat listening to country music, which was Ethan's most favorite thing in the whole world. We hiked. Typically, the kids did that reluctantly, I'll admit.
Hi, my name is Xana Kernodle.
Xana Kernodle was Ethan Chapin's girlfriend and a roommate of Maddie and Kaylee. Like Ethan, she was only 20 years old. She was majoring in marketing. By all accounts, Ethan was Xana's first boyfriend.
He had such an infectious smile and a charismatic personality. And if you knew anything about Xana as well, they were very similar in how they acted together.
Gripped with fear, many students went home to finish the semester online. Others stayed in their dorms.
Okay, real quick. So this is the view from behind the house. I mean, look how easy it would have been for Kohberger to just sit right here and look through the windows. Remember, Kaylee and Maddie didn't have any kind of blinds or anything blocking their window. You could see right through it, you know. And right up the hill, there's a little roundabout where you can park. Nobody's gonna take any notice, you know, especially if he went there in the middle of the night, you know. And this is a party town. Nobody's thinking there's a crazy stalker killer like Brian Kohberger, you know. And remember, Brian Kohberger was at the University of Idaho campus so many times that everybody thought he was a student there, when in reality, he had no business whatsoever to be on that campus. He shouldn't have been there at all.
Going to class on Zoom. Was a person capable of killing 4 people, walking among them? Who was it? And would he ever be found? There were just too many questions unanswered for anyone to feel truly safe. Coming up, inside the search for a killer, and how police say they tracked down the man who murdered 4 students with a retired FBI agent and a death investigator. You are watching Law and Crime. The house on King Road had gone from a happy place with a good vibe sign hanging on the wall where college kids made memories to a horrific crime scene in a matter of hours, maybe even minutes.
The 4 were stabbed with a knife, but no weapon has been located at this time. There was no sign of forced entry into the residence.
The Moscow Police Department, with just 36 officers, had an overwhelming task ahead of them as they tried to figure out who killed Maddie Mogen, Kelly Gonsalves, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle. So where do police begin?
This actual slaughter that took place, so it is a huge, huge undertaking.
Veteran forensic death investigator Joseph Scott Morgan has followed the murders in Idaho closely from the beginning. Morgan describes the challenges of investigating the 3-story house on King Road.
For anybody that's had a collegiate experience where there's off-campus housing involved, many times there's an open-door policy, and particularly if you've got multiple roommates.
Hey guys, Moscow PD.
Yeah, so of course there's going to be, tons and tons of unknown male and female DNA all through that house, right? But you know where none of those people's DNA would be, and only the killer's DNA would be? On the actual murder weapons sheath. Okay? Come on. Let's be real, guys.
Hey, turn the music down.
The door appeared to always be open at all times at the house on King Road.
Hello, miss. What's your name?
Xana.
Xana, do you live here?
Yes. The house where Xana, Kaylee, and Maddie lived with their 2 roommates was a popular party house.
How are you?
After the murders, several body camera videos from Moscow police surfaced, showing officers went to King Road several times after neighbors called, complaining about noise coming from the house.
We're only here for a noise complaint. Come to the damn door.
Kaylee Gonsalves spoke to the officers nearly 3 months before she, Maddie, Ethan, and Xana were murdered.
You know why we're here?
I assume noise.
Noise, yeah.
Yeah.
Big speaker right there.
Yeah.
Because this is such an involved scene, and I don't know if I can impress upon viewers how extensive this thing is. When you're talking about a multi-story dwelling.
Morgan says the 3-story house was like a petri dish when it comes to DNA and other vital evidence that could point to a suspect or suspects.
And you might have, parties and get-togethers all together, but then you have these collections of people that are coming in, and of course they're depositing everything that they bring from outside with them. So it's not just to the exclusion of that individual's personal DNA. Anything else relative to trace evidence, you begin to think about hair, fiber, footprints.
That fact alone could make collecting evidence a challenge and later trying to make sense of it once results come in from the lab. Morgan says the crime scene includes more than just the house where the students were killed.
You're talking about a neighborhood where you have people that are domiciled immediately adjacent to this standalone structure. Everything must be considered.
Couple the complex.
Everything must be considered. And, I've got some comments from some of you nutcases out there that try and say, I'm not open-minded, right? Are you kidding me? I don't know what they're going to say here, right? But I just follow the evidence, okay? That's all I'm doing. And that's all anybody should be doing, okay? If there's nothing to support what you believe or what you say, how can you possibly believe that, I mean, we could say that an alien killed these people, right? I mean, that would make just as much sense as somebody coming through a tunnel or the police planting the sheath, or the police trying to set them up, because there's no evidence of that either, right? So you can say anything you want, but without any evidence to back it up, it doesn't mean anything.
Complexity of the crime scene with the fact that the quadruple murder happened in a city with a small police department that doesn't investigate many murders, and you could run into some real problems.
And it's kind of sad how many people are defending somebody that, in all likelihood, killed these 4 innocent young adults. It's sad.
Crime knows no boundaries, and these murders have shaken us to our very core.
And look at all these different cops that are involved in different agencies. I mean, do you guys really think that all of these different agencies and cops conspired to frame Brian Koberger? And here's another question for you guys. Why, if they did, let's just say that they did do that, right? Why would they pick somebody that has never been arrested before, okay? Was all the way in Pennsylvania, when they arrested him? Why would they follow him all the way over? I mean, why wouldn't they pick somebody that already had a criminal history, right? Or somebody that was violent, right? Somebody that the public could easily believe might have done that, right? Why? But they picked somebody. But you're saying that they're trying to frame somebody that didn't even have a criminal history, and before this, in everybody's mind was a decent human being. I mean, give me a break. Make it make sense, guys. I mean, all you guys that are commenting, you're just trying to say things about me. You know what I mean? Why don't you answer any of these questions that I keep posing to you guys, right? Because you can't answer them, you know?
Let's face it, Moscow police knew right away they were in over their heads and immediately called for help.
We have 25 plus investigators working this case.
And that's a sign of a good, a good police station. They knew they were a small station, and they knew they wanted to get this right because it was a huge national case. So they called in all these other agencies and the FBI, okay? They knew they needed help. And some people would have had egos and try and do them themselves and would have messed up, right? That's when you would get people trying to just frame somebody, but not when they actually knew and called in all these other agencies. I mean, come on, guys.
As well as assistance from the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Idaho State Police. We're reviewing video that has been collected, but we are asking citizens to contact us with any information you may have that will help in this investigation.
Police held press conferences, releasing bits and pieces of information to a community full of people who were living in fear.
We do not have a suspect at this time, and that individual is still out there.
One critical piece of information that police shared, they knew the murder weapon was a knife, but they didn't know where it was or who owned it. Word started to spread around the small town that police were going to local shops.
And they didn't just know it was a knife because there was a knife sheath, right? They knew it was a knife because the medical examiner looked at the wounds, and they could have only been made with a knife. And they knew, and specifically, a K-bar knife, okay? And that K-bar knife has a sheath, right? And lo and behold, the sheath has Brian Koberger's DNA on it. It doesn't have all the other kids' DNA that was in the house on it. It just has Brian Koberger's DNA.
Asking about a specific knife, a K-bar knife.
Very heavy. It is a combat knife. It's been used by our troops since World War II.
I mean, did you look at that thing? Hello? That would go, I mean, one stab with that to the heart and to the neck, you're done. It doesn't take that long to kill somebody while they're sleeping with that knife. Okay?
Famously by the United States Marine Corps.
So how did police know exactly what they were looking for? In late 2022, that wasn't clear.
Okay, and you see at the top there? Okay, there's the button. You have to unsnap that button, okay, to get the knife out, right? So, I bet you Brian Koberger wiped down the rest of the sheath, but he didn't wipe underneath the button. If he would have done that, he probably, most likely, would have gotten away with this. That's the scary part.
But what you could easily find out is that anyone could go online and buy a K-bar knife.
And that's very specific. Folks that didn't see it, there's the word, K-bar. It actually is what's referred to as a bastardization of the words kill a bear. And that's how far it goes back. And so,
wow, I didn't know that. But yeah, it says the name of the murder weapon on the sheath. You know what I mean?
So the knife was considered to be that robust as a combat knife. You show up with a knife like this, you know, it kind of implies that you're showing up with, say, some level of homicidal intent.
And see, it's not just me saying it. It's a professional saying that knife is made to kill. And he just said, if you're showing up with that, you're showing up most likely with homicidal intent. Okay? That's not my words. That is a professional, okay? That is trained in this. All right? And this video is getting long, so I'm gonna make 2 parts. I'll make another part this afternoon. So hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll continue this journey in a couple hours. Have a good day, guys. True Crime King out.